Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for taking part in this first ever digital press conference for the fast approaching World Door Slammer Nationals. That's the CTEC World Door Slammer Nationals presented by JEGS, coming up March 5th, 6th, and 7th. Orlando Speed World Dragway. We're joined today by a bunch of our friends in the media. We've got a handful of racers here with us as well. Here in a few minutes, I'll introduce Pro Stock and Pro Mod standout Alex Laughlin, reigning, defending, four-time NHRA Pro Stock World Champion Erica Enders. Talk a little bit about the race that's coming up a couple of weeks away. Before we dive into a little bit of back and forth Q&A with our media members here today, I do want to encourage, if you have some questions or if you have a comment or anything you'd like to talk about, feel free to throw it into the comment section. Of course, you'll be hearing a lot from myself and the rest of the Door Slammer Nationals team over the course of the next few days, the next couple of weeks. But we did want to do something different. The thing that kind of gets me out of bed in the morning, to be honest, is the notion of being able to do something different and blaze trails and do things that haven't been done previously. And this press conference is just another example of that type of thing. One of the things that I felt like the sport of drag racing has lacked for so long has been a little bit of pomp and circumstance, a little bit of treating big things like the big deal that we know that they are. So again, thank you guys all for being a part of this. Before we dive into questions, I do want to do a little bit of house cleaning. As I said, the World Door Slammer Nationals are upon us. Somebody's phone's melting down. If you want to go ahead and mute that, I don't know where these are coming from, but anyways, I don't know whose phones these are. JT, why don't we run through here and mute some things? But anyways, there's a little bit of, I'm just reading through some notifications here. Everybody wants to text me. Anyways, I think I want to say that, of course, January or March 5th, 6th, and 7th, Orlando Speed World Dragway. VIP tickets are still available. You can log on to DoorSlammerNats.com. That's DOORSLAMMERS NATS.com. Buy yourself a VIP ticket. I will tell you that with the way these things are trending, the way things are happening right now, the way we monitor web traffic, we monitor our social engagement, this will sell out. So if you want to go be a part of the best drag race ever, take it in from the best possible perspective, I would encourage you to dive onto DoorSlammerNats.com and make sure that you buy yourself a set of VIP tickets. Of course, general admission tickets will be available. This has been a very common question due to COVID-19 and the variety of new safety protocols and everything that go on in the event business. We have elected not to sell advanced ticketing for general admission tickets. Those will be available at the gate of Orlando Speed World Dragway. So please come on out, be a part of the best drag race ever. The CTEC World Door Slammer Nationals presented by JEGS. Buy yourself a ticket at the gate. You can buy single-day passes at the gate. Of course, you can buy a 3-day weekend pass at the gate, but our VIP tickets will sell out before the race. So if you would like to be down and around the biggest stars in the sport of drag racing, make sure you take us up on that VIP offer. Before we get into questions, there's something that I don't think we could spend enough time talking about, to be totally honest with you, but it's really important that I mention this a little bit. We are blessed beyond measure by the people, the companies, the manufacturers, the various brands inside and outside of the motorsports industry that have quite literally jumped at the opportunity to be involved with the Door Slammer Nationals. So I just want to say thank you. We have over 50 companies. I can't tell you how incredible it's been to work with this many different people, this many different company owners and marketing teams and everything in between to make this deal happen. Of course, I have to shout out everybody at CTEC, Dean, Jim, Nate, everybody involved, Daryl at CTEC Manufacturing. They have signed a 3-year agreement with the World Door Slammer Nationals to be our title rights sponsor. And in this day and age, in this climate, to sign a long-term agreement like that is just unheard of. I couldn't be more proud of it, and I send my sincerest thanks to them. Their belief in what we're trying to do, their belief in Door Slammer drag racing as a standalone attraction is rivaled only maybe by mine. This group of people truly believes that Pro Stock, Pro Mod, these are marquee attractions. They should be at the top of the playbill, and we're excited to kind of put our money where our mouth is March 5th, 6th, and 7th. Carrying on, JEGS, they came back in 2021. They have also signed a long-term agreement with us. I cannot say enough about the yellow and black. These are people that bleed drag racing. They are so passionate about our sport, and they not only do they talk the talk, but they walk the walk. They stand behind their product. They stand behind this sport. They support and encourage at every imaginable juncture. And I can't say thank you enough to Jeg Coughlin Jr., Jeg Sr., Troy, Mike, John. A huge shout out to Woody Woodruff. He's something of a legend in the motorsports hardcore drag racing world, and his contribution to this event cannot be overstated. So huge thanks to our title and presenting sponsors, but it doesn't end there. True Leave, PDI Diesel, Strange Engineering, Alan Johnson Engineering, Alan Johnson Performance, Applied Racing Technology, Aero Components, Steenar, Bill Miller Engineering, Nitro Fish, Brow Bell Housing, CFE, Kinetic Engineering, Competition Trailers, Diamond Pistons, Flying A Motorsports, Fuel Tech, Proline Racing Engines, Hogan's Manifolds, HPL, Scruggs Farm and Lawn, Imperial Construction, Jessel Valve Train, JBS Power Systems, Lucas Oil. We announced last week that Lucas Oil has joined us as the official oil of the World Door Slammer Nationals. M&M Transmission, Elite HP. Huge shout out to our friends at Elite HP, Marty Robertson, Mick Snyder, Melissa, the whole team for welcoming us into their showroom to do this press conference here today in Fort Worth, Texas. McLeod Clutches, FTI, Melling, Mickey Thompson, Modern Racing, NRC Modifications, Precision Racing Suspension, PRP, Quartermax Chassis and Components, RJ Race Cars, Quick Drive, Steff's, Strange Engineering, Noonan, Tie Drive, Victory One Performance, Artisan Coffee, Lift Truck Services, Race Light Lithium, Race Skillman, Shameless Performance, Tulsa Power Sports. We are so blessed to have put this group of people together that, again, share our passion and belief in door slammer drag racing. It is, I believe at this point in time, it goes without question that these events like the SeaTech World Door Slammer Nationals presented by JEGS that pay $75,000 to win in Pro Stock, $50,000 to win in Pro Mod. This is the type of prize money. This is the type of pomp and circumstance. This is the type of care and concern that these racers deserve so much. And I have to say that new for 2021 has been the inclusion of a variety of sportsman categories that not only warms my heart, but just ramps up the excitement. I've been saying for years that it's all about inclusion, not exclusion. We wanted to bring in as many people, as many different eliminators as we felt fit our program and that we could run in a safe and timely fashion. So this year we're joined at the Door Slammer Nationals by our friends in Top Sportsman, our friends in Competition Eliminator, Stock, Super Stock, Factory Showdown, Outlaw 632. This is going to be a show for the ages. And with that said, I'll dive in to some questions from the media. I'm not sure who's up first, but happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
I'll go ahead and jump in. This is Nate Van Wagen with Drag Illustrated. My first question is for Wes, Alex, and Erica. All three of you were at the event last year. With all the new things that are going on this year, combined with what was built last year, what are you most looking forward to?
Looks like Erica's going first.
Okay. It is absolutely the most fun, exciting drag race that I have ever been to. And being fortunate enough to be behind the scenes and seeing all the work that Wes and Richard and the entire Drag Illustrated team and Kingsridge Media have all put huge effort into making this a success, and to be able to compete for the largest payout in Pro Stock at $75,000 and then $50,000 for Pro Mod. It's just super exciting to be a part of it. But personally, I'm looking forward to some redemption. I made an early exit in first round to my teammate, Troy Coughlin Jr. So we're going to do some testing down there in Orlando before the event and just get all of our ducks in a row. And I can't wait. I do want to point out that prior to pulling in the water box, my sister is usually in the door of my Pro Stock car, and I'm like, take a picture of the view that I have through my windshield of all of these people on the starting line. And I've never been part of one of Duck's races or one of those radio versus the world deals like Alex does. But to see that firsthand, normally NHRA keeps a pretty tight starting line, but that was the coolest part of the entire thing for me personally. So I'm looking forward to going back. Wes, thank you for organizing everything and all of the hard work that you and your team have done to put this together.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, brother.
Okay, all right. It's been a little choppy over here on my end, so I wasn't sure, how it was coming through. But as long as you're good, I'm good. And man, I'm super excited for this event. This is it was kind of choppy when Erica was talking on my end as well, but I heard her saying something about the duck races, and that's exactly what it's like for me. One of the things that I like about it the most is it's such a like grassroots feel for a drag race. For whatever reason, the NHRA stuff, it's the pressure is so high, and it should be out here at the Door Slammer Nationals, because there's so much money on the line. But the whole vibe, the whole scene, the whole setup, everything last year was just absolutely awesome. It was extremely organized, and on top of all that, I mean, we ended up winning the whole thing in Pro Mod, so that was a pretty cool feeling. But I'm super excited. I didn't know quite, what 2021 was going to bring, especially for my group. Last year was very difficult with the COVID stuff and whatnot. And, I'm grateful to be able to come back and give it another shot. I at least wanted an opportunity to be able to come back and defend that win. I'm extremely excited to be working with the Elite HP folks now. In the Pro Mod category. And we're going to sail that 1967 Mustang right down to the finish line, and it's going to be flying, and I can't wait.
For me, honestly, and just to kind of echo Alex and Erica's sentiment, and I mean, again, thank you so much to four-time world champion, our reigning defending champion from the event last year, Alex Laughlin. Erica, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I will say that looking back on last year, I experienced a lot of what you guys are talking about, where I felt like there was this really odd mixing of high stakes, everything you want in the ultimate drag racing competition, but we also tried to keep it light, right? When it was on race day, you could feel Sunday last year, you could feel the energy change, the vibe change from like, oh, hey, we're all having all this fun, we're here together with all of our friends, but you could feel the intensity level ratchet up on Sunday. But by and large, Double E and Alex are exactly right. Like the vibe there, the fun, it's just unusual. And I think that there was a part of it, and I've said this many times before, but it's like bringing in a couple of country music superstars that you're used to seeing perform in coliseums and huge venues and bringing them to your local honky tonk. That's how it felt. It felt very important for me to bring the World Door Slammer Nationals to a track that had that Saturday night vibe, that wasn't so big that you couldn't have that closeness. What do they always say? Big wedding, small church. That's very much what we were trying to achieve with our track partners, Ozzy and Maria Moya. My heart goes out to the Moya family right now. But we're so excited to see them here in a couple of weeks down in Orlando. And it just felt like the perfect home for an event that, like Alex and E have said, that the pressure's there, the intensity is there, the competition is there, but the vibe and the mood and the atmosphere is very relaxed and fun. It's before the season has started. It's before everybody's burnout. That's something that I've experienced with race promotion in the past, is that you try to do something like this in the middle of the summer or way late at the end of the year, and everybody's at the end of their budget, at the end of their willpower, at the end of their energy and enthusiasm. And by doing this event the first weekend of March, not only are we establishing a little bit of date equity and kind of taking some ownership of that weekend, we're also getting everybody before they've torn their stuff up or before they've had anything kind of upset their flow or disrupt their momentum. So I think time of year is really important, and I'm super excited about it. Who's next?
Hey Wes, Bobby Bennett, Competition Plus. Got a few questions to ask you. Is this event, had the Pro Mod World Series of Pro Mod basically run its course, and this was taking your event to the next level? That's my first question.
The World Series of Pro Mod, in my opinion, did not run its course, to be totally honest with you. I don't think it did. I think the World Series of Pro Mod that we held for 3 years at Vandermeer Speedway outside of Denver, Colorado, I think laid the groundwork for events like this. I don't know that anybody that was involved in those events or that are involved in these projects, you don't oftentimes maybe realize what you're doing when you're in the middle of it. It takes a little bit of perspective. It takes a little bit of time to be able to look back and recognize that something happened or that things changed on the heels of that event. And I really feel like we were part of a movement with the World Series of Pro Mod that was establishing door slammer drag racing. And I say that broadly. I'm talking about Pro Stock, Pro Mod, Mountain Motor Pro Stock. I'm talking about all the small tire categories, Pro Boost, all the PDRA categories, all the NMCA categories, Extreme Pro Mod, the Midwest Drag Racing Series. It was the start of a movement that these classes, these eliminators of drag racing can carry a show. There has been a belief that has permeated the drag racing world for many, many, many years that you can't have a marquee main event, big crowd drag racing show without nitro. That I've heard it from so many times. I've heard about all the limits that exist, the ceilings that exist for door slammer only events, that they can only get so big, they can only gain so much attention. And I think the World Series of Pro Mod was one of the first dominoes to fall to maybe establish that as a rumor or as a myth to kind of break that rule. So I would like to say here, while I have the opportunity, I appreciate it, Bobby, is that we intend to do more events at Vandermeer Speedway. Our partnership with Sporty Vandermeer, the whole family out there, everybody involved with Vandermeer Speedway is still very strong. COVID disrupted our plans for 2020. We're still circling the wagons and kind of figuring out what the world's going to allow us to do later this year or in the future. But that event most certainly laid the groundwork, I think, for Pro Mod and Pro Stock, those categories on the quarter mile as a marquee attraction. So I don't know how we will return to Thunder Mountain, but I can assure you, Bobby, that we will return to Thunder Mountain.
Two more quick questions. Secondly, when the pandemic actually played into your hands for 2020, didn't it?
Honestly, Bobby, I would say it did. And that's another thing that I don't think we really realized until well after the fact. Like, I'm the first to admit that last spring I had such tunnel vision, such laser focus on the race that it was hard to even get excited or get worried or pay attention to anything else. So I was hearing things in the news about coronavirus and COVID-19, but you're exactly right. We were the last, what I believe to be major drag racing event to happen before the world shut down. I've talked very openly about how much that impacted our entire team, in that it was the highest of highs. I've told people before that Sunday night in Orlando last March was one of the greatest moments of my life. You know, sending everyone out of that event safely, having a great time had by all. Again, everybody left the track safely in one piece. We busted up a handful of cars, but not too many, nothing that isn't kind of par for the course. And that evening, I just felt like we had really done something significant, that this group of people had pulled it off. Like, it absolutely pulled it off. And it literally wasn't 72 hours, Bobby, before the world was shutting down. The NHRA announced that they wouldn't be hosting the Gator Nationals, an event that the East Coast opener, I'd argue, if not the best race on the NHRA tour, damn sure one of them. NASCAR was, shut down before that. The NBA sent players off the court before that, and it was just such a unusual thing. And I'm hoping we can live up to that in 2021.
My final question, I promise you. The NHRA, for whatever reason, decided, although they had never considered putting pro mods on the mountain, decided last year they were going to put pro mods on the mountain, and it came back to bite them. Was that an attempt to kind of dilute the market?
Dilute the market? It broke up a little bit there, Bobby, but I think you're asking about the NHRA taking pro mod cars to Vandermeer Speedway basically immediately after us. To be honest, like it probably changed my opinion on what the playbill, I've been using that word, what the playbill would look like for an event on Thunder Mountain at Vandermeer Speedway. I felt like there was an opportunity for people to learn from my struggles, right? And I thought that was more along the lines of what would happen. And it's no one's to blame. Vandermeer Speedway remains one of the most incredible racing facilities on the planet Earth. There is a unique challenge with racing on Thunder Mountain. Obviously, the elevation, you're at basically 10,000 feet. And a lot of these racers just don't have the repertoire. They don't have the box of tricks necessary to go out there and comfortably feel like they're going to be able to be successful and put their best foot forward. We were blessed for many, many years to have people spend the money and take the time and invest in the time to go test, to develop that tune up or what have you, that combination. But for us, we just knew that was it felt like an insurmountable task. There's so many nuances to Pro Mod specifically, where you've got turbo cars, blower cars, Pro Charger cars now, nitrous oxide cars with 903s, some with 965s in them. So there's just all these nuances, and it felt like we weren't going to be able to. I didn't want to spend all of our time bickering over rules or working on rules and that type of thing to create a level playing field. Not to mention, this is a great opportunity, I think, to talk about just what we see this event as how we see this event as a complement to what the NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series is, and specifically the NHRA E3 Spark Plugs Pro Mod Drag Racing Series. We have no desire here to put on 75 races. We are so thankful for the NHRA and what they mean to the sport of drag racing and everything that they do for the sport of drag racing. We just recognize that we believe Pro Stock, specifically in Pro Mod, deserve to be treated as the main event. And they oftentimes I mean, I guess we can be honest here, that's the whole thing, is that's not the case with NHRA, and justifiably. I understand it. They've got nitro cars, they've got Top Fuel and Funny Car, and that is the tip of the sword for the NHRA. But we know this particular group of people, not only are they willing to race a little more than they do currently, they also want a couple of these big independent events. They want a few events that are different from what they're used to, that stick out, give them an opportunity to maybe let their hair down and race for big money and have a little bit of fun. That's something that is often lost on all of us, is that drag racing at its core is supposed to be something that we do because we love it, because we're passionate about it. So we are trying very hard to make it be known that, hey, we're running NHRA rules for Pro Mod, we're running NHRA rules for Pro Stock. That is us. I don't know that if it comes across as that, but that is us tipping our cap to the NHRA as the tried and true sanctioning body, the rule makers, the trend setters that exist in our industry, and that's why we do that.
Wes, Elon Warner with Tony Fay PR. This, from the outside looking in, this has very much a UFC vibe to it, but also I feel like I'm getting ready for the Daytona 500. Can you talk about where you see this event in 5 years, and do you think there's a ceiling for how big this event could get to kick off a Pro Stock season or Pro Mod season? And I have a follow-up question for Eric and Alex after.
Great. Thank you, Elon, so much for being a part of this. I would say that, where do I see the World Door Slammer Nationals in 5 years? I see the World Door Slammer Nationals in 5 years as the biggest independent drag race on the planet Earth. Perhaps second only, but maybe not to the NHRA US Nationals. Again, I want to pay my respects to the men and women that have come before us. The NHRA US Nationals, the big go. This is an event that has defined people's careers. I think that a lot of racers would just as soon win Indy as a championship. I mean, it has so much history, so much tradition. I've got a couple of people here, in Alex Laughlin and Erica Enders, who have won that race, and maybe they can talk a little bit about that experience. But that's where my eyes are personally. My partner in the event, Richard Freeman, sees things very much the same way. Ozzy and Maria Moya, our track partners, very much the same way. We are determined. This is the beginning. I've said this before, that NHRA gets 24 swings of the bat per season, typically, right? Not so much in 2020, but typically they get many more swings of the bat than we do. We get one shot a year. So I'm very happy with how far we've come in a short amount of time. Our first ever event was put together entirely in 82 days. Ozzy, Moya, Richard Freeman, myself have a conversation over cocktails at the PRI show, in Indianapolis, Indiana. And the next thing I know, we're announcing the World Door Slammer Nationals. A few weeks later, we're signing C-Tech Manufacturing as our title rights sponsor, JEGS as our presenting sponsor, and I guess the rest is history. I do feel a certain amount of pressure to live up to the standard that we set in 2020. You do ask yourself, like, man, how are we going to one up that? Where do we improve? But there's plenty of places to improve. I suppose there always will be places to improve, but I see this event trending towards being the biggest single drag race in the United States, if not the world. This is a format that I would love to see taken around the country, maybe a different move the event or have a fall event. I'm not sure. We have a long-term arrangement with Orlando, but I think that there's room to expand, maybe do another event. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to do too much. I really don't. I think that it's so you can become watered down and another race so quickly that you kind of have to resist some of that desire to grow. I think I want this to be a limited production run. I want this thing to be something that is always something people are looking forward to. It's a premium experience. It's not a run of the mill experience. I will say that where we're at payout wise, that's a dance as well. I would love to see our purses continue to increase. I would love to see these guys racing for hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars at some point in time. I truly believe that to be a possibility. And I look around at our industry right now, and it's cars with doors. It's cars that look like cars that are driving the automotive aftermarket forward, whether it's Street Outlaws, the No Prep Kings, whether it's Cletus McFarland and his YouTube following, or this variety of YouTube influencers that exist. It's cars that look like cars. It's cars that are still left-hand steer, that are suspended, that people can aspire to have. And I feel very strongly that drag racing can and will grow on the back of Door Slammer drag racing. So where will we be in 5 years, Elon? It's hard to say, but I promise you this thing will not be getting any smaller.
Perfect. And then real quick for Erica and Alex, this event has to be a highlight for you coming into this season, particularly on the heels of 2020. What would winning this event for you, Erica, mean? You know, your career you're on the way to a Hall of Fame career, but starting your season off with a $75,000 paycheck, and then Alex going back to back in pro mod. What would that mean to you to get your season started?
All I heard was for Erica and Alex, and everything else was quiet, Elon. So I don't even know what you asked. I'm sorry.
All right. How about now? This event kicking off the Pro Stock season, how important would it be to add to your Hall of Fame career?
I can't hear you.
Oh no!
I mean, it's just cutting in and out.
Sure. I'll let someone else give it a try.
Erica, can you hear me all right?
I can. For right now,
Okay.
I can.
Okay, great. What Elon was asking was, and I apologize to anybody, the technical difficulties of doing stuff like this. You never know. And we're really proud of it, actually, because I'm so excited to have everybody together like this. It's very cool. Even there are some upsides to COVID, getting people together on the internet being one of them. But Erica, what Elon was asking is, what would this mean to you? You've won 4 world championships. You've won all the big races. You've got a Hall of Fame career and then some. What would it mean to start 2021 winning the World Door Slammer Nationals?
It would definitely be huge. I'd say above winning the K&N Challenge, which is something that was really cool. It was our first win together at Elite Motorsports, but I can't emphasize enough how cool and how amazing this event is. So to be able to start the season off with a win here would be absolutely huge, especially considering that it pays more than winning the World Championship did last year. So thank you for the compliment, Elon. I'm sorry I couldn't hear your question, but it would be a tremendous accomplishment, that's for sure.
Alex, how about you, man?
Wes, I'm going to ask you the same thing to repeat the question, because for some reason I can hear you perfectly, but everybody else is pretty choppy.
Okay, well, very odd. But nonetheless, basically what Elon was asking was, you've won so many big races, right? You've won Lights Out. You've won the U.S. Nationals. You've flown at the top of our sport for quite a while. Having won this race, I mean, maybe you could give us a little bit of insight as to where the World Door Slammer Nationals win last year ranked, and amongst those wins, and what it would mean maybe to go back to back.
Yeah, honestly, I would say that it ranks right there at the absolute top. I personally put it above the U.S. Nationals just because I didn't love exactly how the final round was there. Wink, wink, Erica. But it was huge. It was especially huge to be the winner of the first ever, right? It's the first time you've ever had it. So that's something that nobody will ever be able to take away. The next person, they can be next, but that's it. Winning it in Pro Mod was huge. I would love the opportunity to win it in Pro Stock. I believe I will actually be able to be there racing both categories again this time. I don't know if anybody else is up for that. It's definitely a pain and a little extra chaotic running back and forth between two cars, but I absolutely prefer it that way. And it is funny. It's one thing that I've never considered is that Erica hasn't won this event before, and she's won literally everything else, all the way up to 4 championships. But I always like to get a little jab in there when I can. So, maybe this time eventually you can be a World Door Slammers champion as well. But that's all.
We got Courtney in the house. Courtney Enders, what do you got for us?
Hi. Well, you did my intro for me. Courtney Enders with Kingsridge Media. I have a 2-pronged question for Erica and Alex. We'll let them talk for a little bit. With all of the uncertainty that happens, our schedule gets janked around. The purse money, we've already touched on that through the NHRA with keeping what Wes said, the NHRA being the Holy Mother. But how important is it for organizations like us to keep attempting to put on races like this? Yeah, they're fun and it's a lot of money, but how important is it to not only the class, but to the sport that we have these one-offs and these variety races?
We'll go to Erica.
Okay, Wes, do you mind repeating what she said? I'm sorry.
Same thing. So basically, she just asked. It's your sister, by the way. She was curious how important is it to you in your mind for events like this to exist, Erica? How important is it for there to be options, perhaps as racers, or just other marquee events such as this?
Well, I feel like as the landscape has changed, I've been racing the majority of my life, 30 plus years, and 17 in Pro Stock. The landscape has significantly changed with the NHRA, in my personal opinion. So I feel like letting the world know that they're not the only game in town, while they are the main stage and it's on TV and whatnot, these events are super important to our sport. And as Alex mentioned before, it's more of like that grassroots feel where you're racing in a super high pressure situation for a ton of money, but at the same time, it's just like exciting and it's just fun and it's relaxing at the same time, while you still have all of the fans and a huge number of media outlets out there. And we're streaming across 5 different platforms today. So I feel like it's huge to have these type of events. And if you go, back into the bracket racing stuff with the Cummings guys putting things on, and I think Bo Butner's putting a race on, and then you with the World Series of Pro Mod. I was fortunate enough to be a part of one of those events, and I think they're just awesome. But the World Door Slammer Nationals, you got to be there, man. It's going to be killer.
And my opinion as far as, what it means to be able to put on these extra events and whatnot is, I would compare it to something as simple as eating pizza. Pepperoni may be your favorite, but you don't want to order that every single time. You want to spice it up, right? You want to be able to do more than just the NHRA racing. You want to be able to go run lights out, to run the Door Slammer Nationals, to keep, that extra flair and diversity even within drag racing itself. And then also, so many of our partners are performance driven, racing driven partners, sponsors and whatnot. So the more races there are, the more opportunities you're going to have to be going through parts. There's no doubt about it that race cars, I mean, it's hard on equipment, and for the people that use them and consume them, the companies that invest in us as drivers and teams and whatnot, that's what they rely on. So the more races, the better. Sell more parts.
And I'll say, just to bookend that, Courtney, is that what I hope this event means for the Alex Laughlins and Erica Enders of the world is I think it is absolutely mandatory that they have the opportunity throughout their career to bring their sponsors out or introduce people to the sport in an arena where they're the stars of the show. I love for Alex to have that opportunity with his sponsors, for Erica to have that opportunity. And I think they both could maybe talk a little bit about how different that is when you're going to a race where everyone is here to see you, not anybody else. They're not gonna, you're not hoping that they see you as part of the process. They have literally bought a ticket and paid money to watch you compete, and that's what the stars of Pro Stock deserve. That's what the stars of Pro Mod deserve. And I don't know, do you guys sense that when you're on the grounds? Alex, let's just start with you. Do you sense that when you're there, that it's a different feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. It totally is, and that's what I was referring to before. Is just the whole vibe of it. It feels so much more laid back and easygoing. It's a place that I want to be. Like it's a place that I enjoy being at. Of course, I love being at any racetrack, across the entire nation. But the Door Slammer Nationals, I mean, this is the race to be to and or to come to, and as far as fans, dude, I mean, it's as good as it gets. You get to be up close and personal with your favorite drivers, in the door car categories, and there's not all of the top fuel flare, which personally, I don't care that much about because it doesn't take anything to drive those cars. It's just basically up to the crew chief and hit the gas, and once you leave the starting line, you're up to the discretion of whoever tuned it. Where these other cars, they have to be driven, they have to be shifted. There's a lot more to it, and I will absolutely live by that.
Erica, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, Alex hit the nail on the head, but it's definitely a race and a venue that we are proud to bring our sponsors to. Melling's on board this year with the World Door Slammer Nationals. Strange Engineering, a lot of our partners that are a huge part of our pro stock operation on the NHRA side have jumped in headfirst to be a part of this event. So I wholeheartely agree that it is an event that I would be proud to show my sponsors and to bring them out and see what's going on. It's just a different level, and you don't have to worry about being undercut or the schedule getting moved around because you are the part of the show that matters. So that's what's super significant for us.
I agree. I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Courtney, what next question?
It was just kind of second part to that. Being that we do put a lot of little logistical decisions into this to make it different. You touched on a little earlier that, we're not trying to take away from anything that the NHRA does. But from my first question, do you think that it's important to do those little touches that we do, like, and hopefully this will segue into a new question, but drawing the names for the first round opponents, little things like that, having Jason Logan playing music on the starting line, having an alligator in the winner's circle. Do you think it's little touches like that that just make this that much more fun and inviting for the fans to come?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think all of those little intricate touches that you guys put a lot of effort into make a huge difference. Like they started having the pick your song when you're number one qualifier on the Friday night session in NHRA. And that was something that my crew chiefs and I look forward to. Like, well, let's try to get on the pole after the first session so that we can be last out and have that music up there. And with Jason Logan being part of this program, it'll be really neat. And Joe Costello. But all of that stuff plays a big role in what we do. And I'm excited to head back.
Yeah, I agree as well. It's the little things like that that completely change the game and separate, I call it the men from the boys, but that's really what it comes down to. It's awesome. For example, drawing the chips on the starting line to figure out who you race. I am one of the drivers, and I was more entertained by that than anything else, in any of the other racing associations. It's the different stuff, and like I was talking about, the diversity, being different. That's kind of my number one thing, and everybody that's involved with putting on the Door Slammer Nationals is by far light years ahead of it.
I'll say just real quick on that same note that Courtney hit the nail on the head, that it is that those extra little details. And this is something that we've talked to promoters for years by way of Drag Illustrated magazine, and it's all those little nuances. I firmly believe that you can't just throw a big number out there. You can't just throw record-setting conditions out there. You have to do those things. Those are, in my opinion, the big money and the killer track and the killer. Those are expectations, right? That's the way it should be. These men and women should be racing for a lot of money. That shouldn't be a goal. That's not an acceptable goal. The track should be fast. The track should be safe. Those are not goals. Those are expectations. You know, the goals kind of show up in making sure that you've got money being thrown around and money guns and champagne bottles and big checks and all the pomp and circumstance. All the production stuff makes all the difference in the world, in my opinion. So yeah, go ahead, Murder Tundra, slide us on over to Joe Costello. Maybe
you cannot. Hello, test.
There he is.
There I am. Hey, Wes, how's everybody doing? Joe Costello, WFO Radio Podcast. Got a question for Wes and then a follow-up for Erica and Alex. Can you read me?
I can hear you.
Okay, that's great, Wes. Fight promotion has been mentioned a couple of times, and we know how big that has gotten. I would love to ask you, what do you think has been lacking in door slammer racing, and why are you creating this specific stage? Do you feel like there's been a lack of personality conflict and showmanship? And what do you hope to achieve? And what would you like to see these racers use this stage that you've created for?
I would like, I mean, thank you very much. Great question. We have talked a lot about fight promotion, and I think the fight business is just something that's such a great place for us to learn from. I would like, it's tough to talk about these things sometimes, but the UFC or boxing, just as a whole, they've been through so many of the things that we've been through as a sport, and they're a little further down the road than we are, in my opinion, in terms of production and promotion and marketing and so on and so forth. So door slammer racing for me is I felt there was a need, right? Like we just saw an opportunity in that these guys deserve better than they were getting, right? And I understand the reasons those things happen for sure, but if you look at the car counts that exist in pro stock, even, you know, the last couple of years, inarguably, I believe the strongest class in professional drag racing, with Pro Mod right there beside it, nipping at its heels maybe, and there's a little ebb and flow between which one's kind of maybe out front. But if you call chassis shops around the world, you call manufacturers around the world, these are the categories that are keeping them busy. And the people that aspire to race in these categories but maybe aren't there yet, they are what's driving our industry forward, without question, right? I mean, this is inarguable. So I think if you could marry up that inventory of cars and that interest that exists, that grassroots kind of organic momentum that exists for this type of drag racing, and present it the same way you do heavyweight boxing, present it the same way the NHRA presents Top Fuel and Funny Car, there's no telling what could come of it. So for us, it was really an opportunity driven deal. We felt like there was no one else doing what we wanted to see done, what we felt racers deserved. So that's a big part of why we do things the way we do it, Joe. And I don't know there was another part of your question. Just what was it about what do I feel is lacking? I think was one of them.
Well, exactly. And just in that, you're creating this stage. What do you want to see? You mentioned Conor McGregor is a perfect example. Okay. We know what he does. We know what that looks like. Who are the characters that are going to do? I'm not talking about, like throwing a camera at somebody, but I'm talking about being a big, loud, larger than life personality that's going to reach beyond the drag racing fan and make somebody at home say, I've got to watch this because of this reason. Who are the people that are going to do that, and what's fair game for them to do? We see so often people get in the car, they see yellow, they go, they win, they lose. If they win, they're happy. If they lose, they go home. How are you breaking the mold with this?
I honestly think it all boils down to creating context. Like, you have to give these people, these men and women, opportunities in front of a microphone and opportunities in front of the camera. We have so much ground to cover every weekend. I cannot imagine the task that that NHRA faces every weekend to try to make sure that everybody gets their due and everybody gets their moment in the sun. The beauty of having a really concise show like we have with the SeaTech World Door Slammer Nationals presented by Jegs is that we don't have as far to go, right? We have pro stock and pro mod as the tip of our sword, if you will, and we don't have to worry about 7,000 other categories and making sure that everybody's getting to see their name and lights. So we focus first and foremost on these two categories as the stars of our show. And again, it's creating context. It's letting people get to know these men and women, letting them hear them talk and hear how they speak. Because I would argue with anybody that the pits of an NHRA drag race, or almost any drag race that I've ever been to, are full of awesome people, hilarious people, hardworking people, relatable people. These men and women are the salt of the earth. So if you start asking some questions and you open your eyes and ears, you will be overwhelmed by the amount of awe-inspiring stories, relatable tales that exist in the pits of a drag strip. So for us, it's really about giving these people a chance, right? Because whenever I talk about Conor McGregor or Nate Diaz or Mike Tyson or whoever, that's what I want for Door Slammer drag racing. Sometimes I get frustrated because I feel there are times when I want more for them than they want for themselves, maybe. But I want Alex flying on a private jet owned by Rockstar Energy Drink going to the racetrack. That's how that should work. Alex Laughlin should have a sponsor like that. Now, granted, I'm not trying to make light of the sponsors he does have. He has a slew of them, perhaps more so than anybody in our industry. But that's what I want for these guys, and they have to have a willing dance partner. I say the same thing about Erica Enders. I don't know that I can say enough about what this young woman's accomplished in our sport. And there should never be a day that she's wondering about a sponsor, that she's nervous about that. This is the most accomplished female drag racer of all time. I would argue the most accomplished female racer of all time, and perhaps the best drag racer of all time. So she's in that conversation, and I find it shameful that she's not on a Wheaties box. That's stuff that it frustrates me. It bothers me. I see people like Alex out, doing incredibly creative marketing campaigns to secure sponsors for the side of his race car and to secure his future in the sport. And I just can't help but lay awake at night and shake my head a little bit, because that should not be the case. What these people mean to our industry, the influence that they have, the eyeballs that they are able to generate, it is very valuable. These people move the needle. And I honestly believe there are dozens more. I think about people like Stevie Fast Jackson, Ricky Smith. I mean, the list goes. I mean, Pro Stock is packed full of young guns right now. TJ Coughlin, Aaron Stanfield. This kid crushed souls ending 2020, right? I mean, he's out here running a full pull in the NHRA, good looking, clean cut, well spoken guy. There's no reason in the world that he's not being picked up by somebody or being courted by somebody. And I honestly think it's because we play too small as a sport. These type of events such as this is a great example. We're running through a little bit of technical gremlins because no one's ever done shit like this before, right? That's insane to me. Like, there should be no opportunities for us. This should not exist. This should have already been done, but it hasn't been done. And I'm obviously thankful and grateful for that, but we have to start playing the role. We have to, I guess the phrase kind of fake it till you make it comes to mind. If we're not excited about this stuff, Joe, if we don't treat these events like huge deals with press and media blasts and everything else, we can't expect anyone else to get excited. We can't expect anybody else to feel good about investing in it. So I feel a chip on my shoulder, I guess, to make sure that we're creating something here that gives these racers the opportunity to feel like superstars and maybe be the superstars that they are, because I've seen them in action. I've seen them how they handle fans. I see how they engage the media. I see how they engage their sponsors, and they're so good. There's so much promise in, and I named like 6 people, and I probably could name 75. The sport's packed full of these people. They just need their stories told. They just need a little bit of context, a little bit of the opportunity to let people know who they are. And I think the world will come running.
There you go. And then a follow-up for Alex or Erica or both on the same note. Alex, of course, great success last year. Erica, great success pretty much always. Well, what are you going to do with this opportunity? Alex, we know you're very willing to speak your mind. I think a few seconds ago you said it doesn't take anything to drive those cars regarding nitro cars, which I love the fact that you put that out there, but I know you're also going to get some pushback on that from the guys that do it. That willingness to share your opinion, devil may care, whatever it is, that's what the sport needs. So when you're on the stage at the World Door Slammer Nationals, what can we expect? You won the race last year. Who's going to win it this year, Alex?
Okay, I'm sorry, Wes. Can you summarize that? I got bits and pieces of it with a little bit of a summary. I can probably piece it together.
And JT, we may need to go to the group layout. I think that the smaller screens seem to be improving the audio. So during the question answering section, maybe we can go to that and then go to the individual layout. But to paraphrase Joe's question, is he mentioned, Alex, that you're become well known for being outspoken, willing to kind of dish a little, take a little. What can we expect from you headed into the World Door Slammer Nationals here in 2021? Do you come in there with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder or something to prove? Watch me do this again. Is it starting over? I mean, what can we expect from you?
It goes both ways. Going into this race, I am confident in myself. I'm confident in the car and the group behind the car. It is a absolutely brand new race car. It has never set foot on a racetrack before, and we're going to go down there. And I mean, realistically, we should have just as good of a chance to win as anybody else. Sometimes you have to work through the new car blues. Sometimes there's little gremlins in it and whatnot. But the folks at Elite Motorsports and Modern Racing who have put this race car together know exactly what they're doing. And I would honestly be surprised if there was something that was overlooked or missed and wasn't absolutely perfect whenever it gets on the property. I do like to, get at some of the other people every now and then, because like I said, I do like the diversity. I do like to spice things up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There was a time that I told the Street Outlaws guys online that they would never go, 365 in the 8th mile unless they were sitting in a shopping cart that was tied to my bumper. And following 2 days later, I won the Lights Out 10 race and $50,000, and it shut them up real quick. But then there's also times that I told Erica, going into the finals at Indy, I said, bring up, a screw gun and a box of screws because I'm about to blow your doors off. And turns out she was about half track whenever I finally let the clutch out. So you never know. But either way, it's still fun, and it's all in good fun, and that's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And if just one final question for E, because I just want to ask her, like on a situation like this, first race of the year, big money, obviously you're the champ, another year going as a defending champion. How do you roll into this opportunity?
We roll in just like we do everywhere else. I feel like races are won with preparation at the shop, and I have a group of guys that has tremendous work ethic, and even through the frigid temperatures and when the whole team came down with COVID, like they were still at the shop working, all hands on deck. So I think that you can continue to expect great things from the entire camp at Elite Motorsports, Elite Performance, and Elite HP. There's a lot of really great things in the works, and unfortunately, I'm like the old lady on the team this year with all of the young guns, Alex included, Aaron Stanfield as well. So it'll definitely be an interesting year. I know that I've got to do my job every time I get in that car, and I count on my guys, and they are the best. They perform the best under pressure of any group that I've ever had the privilege of racing with. So I expect great things, and I know that we are prepared the best that we can possibly be.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Josh, let's go to you next.
All right. I got a question for Erica, Alex, and Wes. The uniqueness of this year is this race will be the first race of the year for Pro Stock and Pro Mod. Last year, obviously, traditionally you open up in Pomona and Phoenix before you head east. But this, gets that cool spotlight. I know Elon mentioned Daytona. This is kind of a first race excitement feel to it. What's that add to this for you guys, Erica, Alex, Wes? being that this is the first race of the year for Pro Stock and Pro Mod, and kind of, all eyes on Orlando here next week.
Erica, looks like you go first.
All I really heard was something about it being the first race, so I'm not quite sure what the question was.
Basically, just how unique is it that this event now starts the season as compared to having had Pomona and Phoenix under your belt last year?
I think it's really cool to start the year off with such an amazing event. Having said that, I feel like we won't have as many test laps under our belt. We haven't been on track since Vegas when we won the championship last year. So heading into Orlando, when you're part of the program, we allow for a couple of days of free testing. So we're gonna use those days as much as we can, and that'll be the first time that I have my Melling Performance Chevy Camaro on track. So we're gonna make a bunch of test runs and just collect as much data as we possibly can. And of course, at Elite, we share everything. We share crew chiefs. We share data. So it's 4 banners, but one big family. And but I think that we'll head to Orlando excited and just do the best that we possibly can. Obviously, it's a huge platform, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I just want to thank again Wes Buck and Richard Freeman and all of the people that put this deal on. I think it's huge, and I know that it's going to get the notoriety that it deserves and is going to be what everybody looks to accomplish when they put events on.
Alex, do you want to expound on that being the first event of the season, if that changes anything? Because I guess you'd let the clutch out at least a couple of times, if not more, maybe 3 times at different events. Not so much letting the clutch out down at Valdosta, the Donald Long's big shootout down there, letting off the button. But how different will it be having this be your first, competition of 2020?
I think it's really interesting going to this event and it being the absolute first drag race, of the entire year, especially because everybody's been working over the winter through the off season, develop more power to change things. Everybody's just trying to be better, be faster, be quicker, and this is the shot, where everybody's going to come out and just let it all hang out. This is it's almost for bragging rights, who worked harder over the winter and who's going to shine and, stick their chest out going into Gainesville to kick off the actual NHRA season. Last year, some of the other people were talking about coming to the Door Slammer race because it was a good opportunity to test before the NHRA season. And I think that's just a bunch of crap, to be honest, for lack of a better term, because it isn't a test session. This is the real deal, and I'm ready to get out there and show everybody. I know the guys at Elite Motorsports and Elite Performance have been working really hard on all of the new developments and whatnot, and typically those guys always come out on top, and so I'm glad that I'm on that side of the fence.
I'm going to dive in here real quick, JT, with a question for Alex. And I know that you've made some headlines here in recent weeks with some major announcements. Haviland back on board, Powerbuilt Tools back on board. I'm curious, major announcement with Elite HP on the side of the Pro Mod car. Can you give us just a real quick breakdown of what the cars are going to look like? One of the things Alex Laughlin's become known for, and if you're not a follower of Alex, I encourage you to check him out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm sure everywhere else. I heard he's huge on TikTok in China or something. But anyways, Alex, what are the hot rods going to look like down there? That's something everybody loves to see what you're going to do next. What kind of paint schemes and such do we have in store for Orlando?
So the Pro Stock car is it's going to kind of sound crazy, but I'll be releasing it in the next day or so, but it'll be a Speed Society wrap, and it's camouflage, and it's something that I've never done before, like a straight up camo car wrap. So turns out you may not even be able to see me out there. But I did release the Elite HP Pro Mod paint scheme just earlier today. I was very, very fortunate to renew with Powerbuilt Tools. Haviland, of course, they've been my biggest since the beginning, and they've stood beside me through everything, including COVID. As of now, I'm really only planning on running probably 10 to 12 races in pro stock. I will be running the entire season in pro mod, but it just comes down to money more than anything, and the funding. I'm a little bit short this year, which honestly I am every season, and just work to try to put more deals together to be able to make all of them. I obviously would like to run all of the races to be able to compete in the championship and chase the points. But based on how everything went last year, I'm extremely grateful to be able to be out there and running the races that I am committed for so far. But I'm not giving up. I am going to do everything I can to continue and be out there. It's not looking like I'll be able to run the first race in pro stock at Gainesville. It's just, one of those things, unless something else pops up. I'm going to run the Dorsheimer Nationals in pro stock and pro mod, and then I'll be in just pro mod only at Gainesville. And then, we'll just see how it goes. But, like I said, the bottom line, I hate to sound redundant. I am just so grateful because I had no idea what would be happening going into 2021 after how difficult 2020 was. And being able to come up with the funds and everything to be able to do this is 10 times harder than driving a pro stock car. I promise you that.
I'm curious, Erica, can you kind of dive into that as well? I've actually been going back and forth with Mark Melling, a huge friend of the Elite Motorsports operation, and yourself. What's it mean for you, to head into a year with names all over the side of the car and on the quarter panels and on the hood? I mean, I'm sure knowing so much of your story, Erica, and you going to college to get a degree in marketing so you could go sell your own deals and work to develop these deals. What's it like to head into a season not only with a championship and 4 of them to your credit, but knowing and having the confidence that you've got people that believe in you that are going to allow you to continue down this pathway towards, I would say, like we've already established, a Hall of Fame career?
Okay. A huge blessing, and something like Alex mentioned, it is absolutely the most challenging and the hardest part of what we do is finding the funding to be able to go out and do this and do it successfully. The story of my career, but starting out, it wasn't always easy finding the funding, and it still is not, of course. But there were years when I didn't have funding, and there were the years that I drove the Jim Cunningham Ford Mustang, which allowed me, through my sister, to meet Gaston Kirby and then get a driving job back with Victor Cagnazzi, and that's how I ended up here at Elite. But even starting off here at Elite in 2014, when I first signed a contract with Richard, our plan was to run maybe 10 or 12, 14 events at the most. That's when we had a 24 race schedule, and we had such success and such great partners that they kept contributing to our program, and it kind of just had the snowball effect. And hired a guy named Pete Merkel who helps us find sponsorship and is responsible for the Melling relationship and the Gallagher relationship. We have 2 new sponsors on board this year: Gun Skins, which is really cool gun wraps for all of your weapons, and then Rugs That Fit. So we continue to add partners to our program, but we're pretty selective also at the same time, because this is a family organization, and that's exactly what Mark Melling has at Melling Performance. And they wanted to be introduced to the drag racing world because they were huge in circle track stuff. So, and he owned the team that Bill Elliott drove for when he won the NASCAR championship. So they have a huge history in motorsports, and just really thankful for the support that they give our program, all of our partners. And it is crucial. And I hate to see Alex having to sit out in Gainesville. I feel like you do, Wes. I feel like it's a shame to our industry that people as talented as him and people that work as hard as him aren't able to compete at events because they don't have the funding. And I think his Gainesville story from last year is just so cool, how it worked out with Havlin coming on board and last minute, and he was able to win the event. It's just crazy how all of this stuff works, and it'll make you bang your head on your desk and cry and think you're crazy and wish you did something different. But at the same time, the peaks are way higher than all of the valleys that we go through. So the partners absolutely make it possible, and we could not do it without them. So it is a very big weight off of our shoulders here at Elite to be able to have a car that is funded through the season, and we'll be able to compete for our 5th world championship this year.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. Alex and Erica, I think we've had you on here for about an hour. That's all the time we can steal from these superstars. We very much appreciate you guys being a part of this. Obviously, we can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks down in Orlando. Thank you guys both so much. I don't know if you got anything closing remarks. I'll give you both the floor, though, real quick. Erica, you go first, he says.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've touched on everything. Again, Wes, thank you so much for your huge heart and your huge belief in our sport. Without you, events like this would not happen. I think that you see the bigger picture, and I'm so thankful that you are so passionate about what we do and how hard we all work, because I feel like a lot of people, maybe fans and the keyboard crew chiefs out there, just think that we hop on a private jet and show up at a race and win a trophy and go back and eat bonbons and lay by the pool, and that's not the case. So there's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes, and with this event coming up, I want to encourage people, if you're in the area or if you're not and you want to get a break from the cold weather, head down to Orlando and experience this amazing event that so many people have had a huge hand in putting on. I want to thank my sister Courtney. Also, she's my biggest supporter, and she works her tail off for me as well. But this is huge, Wes. So thank you so much. Thank you to our partners, to CTEC for coming on board for 3 years. That's a huge deal. To JEGS and all of the other partners that are helping put this event on. This is going to be a huge deal. So get your butt to the racetrack. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you so much, Erica. Alex, closing comments here, my friend, and I'll take a few questions if anybody has them in the comments. But Alex, again, thank you for being a part of this. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. You're involved with a variety of different businesses, always wheeling and dealing, trying to make things happen. So thanks for being a part of this. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And anybody out there that's listening, if you absolutely just hate money, I'll take it, and that'll help with the rest of the races. Besides that, I do want to brag on you, Wes, a little bit here, because you are absolutely 10 steps ahead of the competition when it comes to this stuff, and it's all the little things, like we've already discussed. But it's not only a race, but it's a production. It's very professional, and I absolutely can't wait to be there.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it very much. God bless you. Be careful, all right? Stay warm. We got a little bit of cold weather down here in the south that we're not used to. So it looks like the sun is shining, though, and everything's headed in the right direction. We'll see you in a couple of days at the best drag race ever, the World Door Slammer Nationals. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And then I guess we'll dive into, I don't know if there's any questions in the comments. Murder Tundra, anything that you think we've missed? Otherwise, we'll dive out of here.
I saw quite a few questions about hotel stuff, Wes, but you kind of devoted everybody to the website. So I would just say, if I had a closing comment, any kind of little questions you guys have, check out the FAQ page on the website, or just message us. Any of us, all of us, are all over the social media outlets here, so we'll get your questions answered.
Yeah, I'd log on to DoorSlammerNats.com for any information you might have, rules, the different class offerings that we have. I would also say that hotels, our official hotels, the Doubletree, UCF, University, I think, of Central Florida. I don't know what street it's on, but check that out. We will, most of our whole World Door Slammer Nationals crew will be at that venue every night. I'm trying to think, Murder Tundra, is there anything else that we missed down in the comments that you want me to regurgitate or go back over?
I don't think so, man.
Okay, buddy. Well, hey, thank you guys all so much for participating in this. We apologize for any technical issues. This was a first ever type of thing, and I'm really proud of it. This is the stuff that gets us excited. We want to be the ones that are doing stuff that no one else is doing. We have to treat this like a big deal. I'll leave you with, I've always asked people or told people that you can find out, you can tell how good an insurance salesman is by how much coverage he has on himself. If you don't believe in what you're doing, you can't expect anybody else to. And I'm telling you, myself, Richard Freeman, Jim, Dean, everybody at CTEC, Woody and the team at JEGS, and the list goes on. I told you guys at the beginning of this press conference, 54 companies, I believe, have jumped to be involved with this event. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but what it really boils down is to shared belief. We're good insurance salesmen. right? We have a lot of coverage on ourselves. We believe in what we're doing. We would buy it ourselves. And that's what, from myself and Richard, everybody else that's involved, Ozzy and Maria Moya, all of our sponsors, there's a shared belief that these events need to happen. Door Slammer drag racing needs to be treated in the fashion that it deserves. Erica Enders, Alex Laughlin, these are superstar race car drivers that need to be treated as such. And you can't be a superstar race car driver if you're not racing in front of big crowds and for a lot of money. So you can count on those two things for damn sure. March 5th, 6th, and 7th, Orlando Speed World Dragway, the house that Ozzy Moya built. Thank you so much to C-Tech, Jags, everybody else that's involved with this. Elite HP, thank you for letting us in here and letting us film this press conference at your facility outside Fort Worth, Texas. Log on to elitehp.com if you're doing a little bit of shopping, new or used, high-performance parts, race cars, engines, and everything in between. Right up the road in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, Elite Motorsports. Log on to elitemotorsportsllc.com for anything you might need truck, trailer-wise. And we'll see you guys in Florida. Thank you all so much.